Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Buddhang saranang gacchami. Dhammang saranang gacchami. Sanghang saranang gacchami. Dutiyampi Buddham saranang gacchami. Dutiyampi Dhammang saranang gacchami. Dutiyampi Sangham saranam gacchami. Tatiyampi Buddhang saranang gacchami. Tatiyampi Dhammang saranang gacchami. Tatiyampi Sangham saranang gacchami. Panatipata Veramani Sikapadam Samadhiyami. Adinadana Veramani Sikapadam Samadhiyami. Kamesu Michatara Veramani Sikapadam Samadhiyami. Musawada Veramani Sikapadam Samadhiyami. Sura Maraya Maja Pamadatana Veramani Sikapadam Samadhiyami. Sadhu, 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 anumodami. So as we begin to enter into our formal practice, let's take a posture that supports being present, being awake, aware, and being relaxed, at ease in our space, at ease in our body. Maybe taking a couple of deep breaths, full breaths, releasing as you breathe out the busyness, maybe the tension in the body and the mind. Bringing a quality of commitment, of appreciation for this opportunity to share time, space, and practice with this group of friends. an appreciation for yourself in finding this time, in making this time to support your life, to support your well-being with this practice. So this will be a practice focusing on Metta, translated, a Pali word translated as loving friendship, goodwill, kindness. So let's begin by collecting our attention and just feeling the breath in the heart. The heart center. And notice if the thoughts are drawing you to past or future. And just gently and kindly collect the attention back in the heart, feeling the breath, feeling the rising and falling of the chest. Inviting the whole being, body, heart, mind, to relax. So I invite you to just consider for a moment the quality of intention that brought you here today. Somewhere in that intention, a wish, an aspiration to be well, to be happy, to have a quality of peace. To feel at home within one's own being, within one's own self, body, mind, heart. And perhaps in some way there is within that aspiration also a sense of wanting to be able to be at peace with oneself for the benefit of others, to be able to access love for the benefit of others. Perhaps tuning in as you can, as feels accessible to you, to that energy, to that quality of energy of caring for myself, for this one, as I am, with all of our limitations, our failures, all of the beauty of our pure aspirations, our capacities for kindness and generosity, all the beauty, all the flaws, this capacity for caring about oneself. Wishing to be well, wishing to be happy. And as much as that quality of heart is accessible to you, and it may be as a kind of an energetic presence in the body, mind, and perhaps in the heart center, or perhaps elsewhere. Or it may be as a thought, an intention. However it manifests, just connecting with that. Inviting that to be known in the body as a quality of energy. Perhaps it can be experienced as a kind of a light, maybe even a luminosity in the body, which is kind, which cares about yourself, which cares about your well-being, which accepts. Perhaps feeling that quality of caring and kindness as a kind of a light, perhaps like a flame or a sun, ball of light, maybe in the chest, maybe in the belly, maybe somewhere else, filling the body, extending through the body. Maybe there are parts of the body that feel in shadow, and that's okay. There's no need for struggle or anxiety around that. It's part of the unfoldment of the practice. Inviting that luminosity of kindness, goodwill toward oneself, toward the innocence, the beauty, the child, that is alive within one. Letting that extend through the body, and the body is permeable, just extending in widening circles to the front, to the back, to the left, to the right, above, below, and all the directions in between, within and without. And in that field of metta, of friendship, we sense the the presence of a dear one. They may be anywhere in that field, You might visualize them clearly, or you might just sense their presence. They might be a very specific person to whom you feel very close, for whom there are very few impediments to deep caring and kindness. Or it may be a less specified other. Being aware of how the heart allows and opens up with kindness, with love to this being. And as we do so, we understand how, just as we wish to be at peace, we wish to be free from suffering, we wish to be happy and well, we wish to be able to love freely and accept ourselves as we are, so too does this other, does this dear one. And we realize how much we share, how much this sense of self and other is constructed. How much of our hearts are really joined in these deep human aspirations, these wholesome aspirations to be well and happy. And now inviting into this field of metta someone that you may not feel so close to, but you know. It could be a neighbor that you say hi to, or someone in the grocery store, or somebody that you know from work, or so somebody that you knew from school, but maybe you didn't keep up with. Just anybody that pops into your field, appears in your field as a presence. And in a way, this person is standing in for the vast majority of humanity that we don't know. That we don't have perhaps feelings of closeness to or distance from. And as you take in the presence of this person, this kind of neutral person, allowing the heart to remember their humanity, to feel their humanity, this shared humanity of a simple aspiration. to be well, to be free from suffering, to have a sense of well-being, peace, to be able to express love. And notice how the heart resonates, to what extent it does, with a sense of commonality and shared being. The opening, the dissolving of these barriers of self and other. The opening up of a sense of connection. And however that expresses itself as a kind of an energetic experience, or a quality of luminosity, or both, or an intention, a more mental experience of acknowledging and really standing in the truth of our profound connection with all of humanity. However this is known, to abide in this. And now I invite you to invite into this field of metta someone that you feel more distant from. It might be someone that you're holding anger toward for some hurt, or you have some unresolved disagreement, conflict, or you find this person very difficult to be with, to communicate with. And you can place this person anywhere in the field. They can be quite distant if that feels safer. And if a person comes into the field that doesn't feel safe to have them anywhere in that field, well, you can just put them outside the horizon line for you, and maybe somebody else will come in, because timing is important in this practice, and there's no forcing, because we begin with kindness for ourselves and we stay with kindness for ourselves. And as you take in the presence of this person who feels more distant, is more difficult for you to feel close to, feel a connection with, bring to mind, in whatever way you can, the acknowledgement, the awareness that they too have an aspiration to be happy. They too wish to be free from suffering. They too want to be able to be at peace with themselves, to be able to love, to feel that they belong in some way. And so, not in any way forcing, but bringing a willingness. So I invite you to just bring a willingness to be open to the humanity of this person that you feel distant from. To perhaps recognize that, like you, they may also have obstacles to allowing this love and caring for oneself to be felt, to be realized. And opening to the possibility of perhaps some understanding or compassion. And allowing that field of metta to have this quality of non-exclusion. Allowing that possibility without forcing, being open to the possibility. To have that metta, that field of metta, have the quality of boundlessness and non-exclusion. And in the last few minutes of the practice, I invite you to open up this field to include all beings, all humanity, all beings of the waters of the earth, the oceans, the lakes, the rivers, the lands of the earth, the the polar regions, the tundras, the jungles, the deserts, the temperate zones, all of the skies, and all the living things of these regions. And the regions themselves, the earth herself, and the atmosphere surrounding our light support system. The whole earth of which we are a part. The whole earth is truly our body. And this body is truly a part of a wholeness, a deeply interconnected wholeness. And as we complete the practice, I invite you to touch into the goodness, the blessings, the merit of this practice that you've experienced whatever they are, for just a moment, perhaps a letting go, a shift, a quality of kindness, of joy, of appreciation, and share that blessing with all beings. All beings, near and far, those who are being born and those who are dying, young and old, those in abundance and those experience lack and want, those who are suffering and those who are experiencing happiness and well-being. May the blessings, the merit of our practice, serve the happiness, well-being, and liberation of all beings and of the whole earth, the whole web of life. So, thank you for your practice, friends. I'm going to move into a short Dharma talk, and we'll finish that at approximately 11:30. And if you can stay after, I hope you can, and we'll have some. We'll turn off the recording, and we'll have some sharing after that. So we're continuing to work with the precepts, and so as I talk about the precepts, I'll continue to go back to a kind of a generalized what it means to work to live from an ethical practice, and how it's something that, moment by moment, it brings us into each moment of our lives. It's a way to really connect with what is driving us in each moment, what's motivating us, and what our intentions are, and to bring this quality of a deep and cultivated intention, not to harm, but to truly support life. So I want to just reiterate that it's so important that the practice of the precepts begins with the refuges. So we begin and we continue and we repeat this practice of taking refuge in Buddha and Dharma and Sangha. And taking refuge is also something that we do again and again. It's something that we can do in a moment of frustration, in a moment of despair, in a moment of self-judgment. We can remember that we're on a path, we're on a journey, and that these are the formations, these are the patterns and habits of mind that bring us in deeper into suffering, and that we can turn toward a quality of heart that begins again by remembering Buddha, remembering that quality of awakened heart-mind. That is who we truly are. Remembers Dharma, which is the unfolding of the path, the this place where I'm placing my foot, this moment on the path, which is remembering, which is coming home. And the Sangha, knowing that we're not alone, that we have friends on this journey. So, this, I'm going to just once again paste in the chat these iterations of the precepts that I'm sharing with you. We're working with the precepts from three traditions, from the early Buddhist, from the Mahayanas, especially the Zen peacemakers in particular, and the Tibetan. And I think that the precepts are a very good place to be ecumenical in our Buddhist practice, to share this. There's so much common ground among the Buddhist traditions, and especially I think we can learn from one another. And the iterations of the early Buddhists, they're particularly emphasizing what we need to train ourselves to refrain from. And that's what is in the chant, to refrain from destroying life. And in the Mahayana and the Tibetan, they are framed in not only what to refrain from, which is such an important starting point. It's like just to say to ourselves, stop, wait, pause. Before you say that, before you do that, pause. And our mindfulness practice is so essential in this capacity to pause, even if we've started to blurt something out, or even if it's after we've blurted it out and we're regretting what we said. Still, that pause is so important, because we can't unsay it, but we can perhaps reach out to repair the harm that we've caused. So that mindfulness, that capacity to pause. And then in the Mahayana and Tibetan iterations, there is a, how do we cultivate the ways to support life? So in our and to support life in all the different ways that the precepts name. And I've put them together in different ways, which you can look at and which we'll be going over in coming weeks. So the practice that we did today in the guided meditation is such an important way to support life. And reflecting, first of all, on how do we destroy life right here? Are there ways that we keep cutting ourselves down, that we keep being harsh and judgmental and not appreciating, not supporting our honest efforts, our honest practice, but really focusing on, where do we sometimes forget? Where do we fall? In Zen, there's a practice, fall down 7 times, get up 8. And so we keep getting up and beginning again. And so, Because learning to be gentle with ourselves, supporting this life, is really fundamental to learning to take our seat in our true home of the heart. And it's learning to be at home in the heart, developing that capacity to be at home in the heart, that we can begin to stop destroying life and more support life, support the life around us. Because we become aware, our heart becomes more awake. We become more awake to how painful it is when we lash out, how painful it is when we exclude, how painful it is when we blame and point a finger. There's a poem I'd like to read. I listened recently to a talk by a Zen teacher named Sensei Koshin Paley Ellison, and he's a sensei of the New York Zen Center where I'm taking a course, and he gave a talk on this precept, not killing, but supporting life. It's a poem by Marie Howe, and I think she's a member of the Zen Center there, and she's a wonderful poet, and they read a lot of her poems. So this one is called Government. Standing next to my old friend, I sense that his soldiers have retreated. And mine? They're resting their guns on their shoulders, talking quietly. I'm hungry, one says. Cheeseburger, says another. And they all decide to go and find some dinner. But the next day, negotiating the two narrow aisles of the Health and Harmony food store, when I say, excuse me, to the woman and her cart of organic chicken and green grapes, she pulls the cart not quite far back enough for me to pass. And a small mob in me begins picking up the fruit to throw. So many kingdoms, and in each kingdom, so many people. The disinherited son, the corrupt counselor, the courtesan, the fool. And so many gods arguing among themselves over toast, through the lunch salad, and on into the long hours of the mild spring afternoon. I'm the god. No, I'm the god. No, I'm the god. I can hardly hear myself over their muttering. How can I discipline my army? They're exhausted and want more money. How can I disarm when my enemy seems so intent? I love that poem. It's just, yeah, we all have our inner armies. And it made me think of the truckers and what's going on. I feel about that and how sure I am that they're all just so terrible. It's not that I have to agree with them. I don't. But can I remember their humanity? Can I remember the humanity of those that irk me? Can I open and really open my heart to cultivate a recognition of that tenderness, that tenderheartedness that I feel within my own heart, remembering that each human being, from all the different groups of people that I feel are so different from me, they too live from that place of wanting to be free from suffering, wanting to be happy. Can we remember in the moment what happens in our hearts and minds when we have this sense of needing to defend ourselves, needing to see the other as a threat, and wanting to strike out? And can we, when there is truly a need to make clear boundaries, and there are times when there is a true need to make clear boundaries and to protect our well-being from the ill intentions of others, the misguided, the driven, the angry, the suffering intentions of others? Can we find ways to protect ourselves and them from hatred? To understand their humanity, to remember their humanity. And this can be a journey. You know, for me, forgiving a very angry father has been a journey of many, many years of subtle shifts, of allowing more and more to feel his humanity, of remembering that, yeah, his father died when he was 15, just like my mother died when I was 14. And how confused he must have been as I was confused. And how abandoned he must have felt as I felt abandoned. To find these places, sometimes of common suffering, that create bridges of understanding. And that we can have an intention to let the suffering end. Be willing to let the suffering end, even if we can't make it stop right now. And at some moment, there might be just a moment of letting go. And in that moment, it's a moment of freedom. We might come back to that habit of mind, that habit of resentment. But that moment of freedom remains within our heart-mind continuum as a possibility. And we can bring an intention, an orientation to that. So thank you. I'll end the recording here.